This is Hub City Spokes, where creators, catalysts, and leaders share their insight in Lubbock, Texas. This season, we're speaking with local businesses discussing their response to these changing times. We're here with Elizabeth Hill, co-owner of Burklee Hill Vineyards, to talk about my favorite topic, Texas High Plains wine. Thanks for being here.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. This is fun.
Yeah. So tell our listeners that maybe don't know a whole lot about Texas High Plains wine, a little bit about the climate and the grapes that grow out here and what makes it unique.
So believe it or not, this is the best place in Texas to grow wine grapes. And we've been compared to Napa Valley as far as climate, soil, elevation. Especially the dry climate aspect is really, really good for grapes, which is kind of counterintuitive because, they're so juicy. But we grow about 80 to 85% of all wine grapes right here in the Texas High Plains. And so we started growing back in 2002 and just progressed into actually producing wine as well, as many of the growers here have.
Yeah. So what kind of grape varietals do you like to grow?
Well, so we have about 10, and I can never remember them all at the same time, but we really like Malbec. It grows really well here. We also grow some Zinfandel. We have some Chenin Blanc, Riesling, Muscat, some Malvasia Bianca, which is a really nice white variety. And we have planted some Mourvedre that has not yet produced grapes, but should in the next year or two.
And most of your bottles have really unique names, too. Where do you guys get those names from?
Yes. So if it's not named after the variety, and I did just remember we also grow Cab, of course, which is kind of more known in California as the California grape, but we have a pretty good Cab here as well. If it's not named after the variety, we name it after family. And so it's been really fun. Some of our wines have very Texas names like JoBeth, Banassu. And so it makes it really easy, but it's also really special to name wines after the generations that have gone before us.
Yeah, definitely. And where you're growing those grapes, that is family land, right?
Yeah, so it's really kind of amazing. The land has been in the family for 100 years. It previously was used to grow cotton, soybeans, peanuts, alfalfa. I've heard all the stories. I think they once grew cucumbers for McDonald's salads. So it's really special to know that. And so Burklee, the name of our brand, is actually named after my husband's grandfathers, Burke and Eddie Lee.
Okay, great. So as far as being in the industry, what is it about the industry that you enjoy as far as Texas High Plains wine?
Well, the Texas wine industry is still a big family. It's still a big community. We still help each other out. We've heard some of the other big wine states have gotten a little bit more cutthroat, for lack of a better way of saying it. And so we really enjoy being able to work with our fellow growers, our fellow wineries. Those are our friends, and we help each other out. We recently got some help from the Binghams on some bottling needs, and we still talk to our friend Jason Santani over at Llano all the time. And so we really embrace the community, and it really is supporting one another because, especially here in Lubbock, we are trying to distinguish ourselves as a wine region.
Yeah, absolutely. What's been, with everything going on, kind of, what's the climate like in regards to growing grapes? I know you'll have a whole nother venture with your winery in downtown, but in regards to actually growing the grapes during this time, has anything changed or?
Well, so 2019 was kind of a bumper year. We had an excess of grapes for the first time in Texas ever. And there had been a lot of debate about when that would happen and when we would have too many grapes, depending on weather. And that definitely happened in 2019. Then, and this has not happened in many, many years that I know of, we had what was considered an early freeze. So back in October, we had an early freeze that has apparently led to some damage. Usually we have what's called a late freeze, like in March or April, when the buds are already out. And so we are trying to see what's going to happen in 2020, but it may be good that we had a bumper year in 2019 because now we have some excess bulk wine that we might need this year.
Yeah.
So, but the climate is really good. Texas continues to embrace wine, and every day there are new Texas wine drinkers, and we're convincing them that, hey, we can really produce some great wine here.
Yeah. What's that interaction like with someone who's maybe used to drinking a label that might have a state that's, typically thought of, I suppose, rather than Texas for wine? What's that conversation like?
Well, sometimes there are some people that I've heard, they say, oh, well, I've heard that y'all are starting to produce some good wine. But a lot of times we hear, well, I drink California wine or Oregon, or I really like my Italian or French wines. And so we just have to really kind of coax them into giving us a try. And luckily we can, talk about some of the awards we've won in San Francisco, for example, some international awards that have really put Texas on the map. And so I think that most people are open to it, but sometimes we do still get a little bit of resistance, just the belief that, well, Texas is not really known for wine yet. And so trying to convince our fellow wine snobs.
Yeah. Exposure definitely helps, right? I mean, y'all are in the middle of a brand new venture in downtown. Everyone's just absolutely loves your space. Your new winery is beautiful.
You. Well, we love the space too. It's a gorgeous building. We feel very lucky and thrilled to be there. And so it's really exciting because we have a vision of that being a destination. And so, of course, this year has not been the best year to open a destination restaurant and winery and event center, but we are still looking forward to when it can be a place that people are really making special memories. And if you go to Lubbock, we want to be one of those places that people say, hey, you've got to go by Burklee Hill.
Yeah. How'd y'all decide on the location? It's the Historic Kress Building off of Broadway in downtown Lubbock.
Well, we had already been involved in downtown. We had set up at the First Friday Art Trail for a couple of years. And we often set up with our friend Kim Sparks, who's over at Juxtaposh. And so we told Kim how much we love downtown. We started our first winery in Levelland downtown in an old building that had to be renovated. And so she casually mentioned, well, hey, we just bought the Kress Building. And I said, I know exactly which building you're talking about, that beautiful building on Broadway that has the 5, 10, 25-cent store on it. And she said, yeah, y'all should come see it. So we went and toured and fell in love with it. Originally, we were only going to take half of the main floor, and then we fell in love. We took the whole floor, and we're glad we did. And so it was a long process to renovate, but it was very much worth it.
Yeah. Can you describe for our listeners what the style of the winery is like?
Sure. So it was finished in 1933. It apparently took them 4 years to build, which is really kind of crazy. I don't think they build buildings quite like that anymore. A lot of real solid, the columns are solid steel. It's kind of crazy. But in 1933, it was very much the Art Deco era. And so a lot of the features, especially inside, are the ornate Art Deco elements. We've got a lot of molding on the ceilings and the walls. And so we wanted to just run with that because we love that look. I think it lends itself to being modern as well. And so it's really elegant, but also you can see the patchwork in the floors where we had to patch some spots that had just been too worn. And so it's got a lot of character, and we love it. It's really high ceilings, lots of black and white, and just that makes you feel like you're being transported to the 20s or 30s.
Yeah, it really does. The atmosphere is so fun. It's so beautiful and honestly engaging. There's great space to not even just, sit down and have a glass of wine, but to get some work done if you're in downtown or to meet with friends and whatnot. It's a great space. And not to mention, obviously, the great wine. You have great food, too.
Yes.
Oh, my goodness. The
thank
pizzas
you.
And everything. It's just phenomenal. Your chef has done a fantastic job.
Well, thank you. We've really had a good time. We've actually worked with a couple of different chefs now, and we're having a good time with it. We do plan to expand the menu to have some entrees where you can actually come in and have more of a piece of meat, so to speak. And we're hoping to add brunch sometime this summer.
Oh, that'll be nice.
Yes. Nothing like mimosas and brunch in downtown. That'd be fantastic.
Yeah, definitely. You kind of alluded to it earlier, but you guys have been in the process of opening this, and it ended up opening right around when kind of all of this shutdown came into place.
Yes.
What was that like? I mean, obviously, opening a business is a big venture in and of itself.
Yeah. It was wild. So we opened on March 4th. And even then, I don't think we had any clue what was coming. I remember it being a very sudden 1 week kind of realization that things were about to change somehow. And so we opened on March 4th and closed back down on March 19th. And so we had a really fun 2 weeks. And we were excited by what we saw and all the people that came in. And we were encouraged, even though we knew that the best thing to do at that time was to shut down, to flatten the curve and keep our community safe. But we were really relieved to be able to keep doing to-go and delivery. And so we pivoted and got on every delivery service we could find and just made sure that we were still connecting with our customers. And then we opened back up on May 1st.
Yeah. What was that like, pivoting? Because I feel like I've just seen, as far as on social media, I've seen Burklee Hill often. And I don't think it's just within my friend group that we're ordering all the pizzas. So how has that been?
Well, I love marketing. It's kind of one of the areas in my world that if I wasn't doing what I'm doing, I'd somehow be in marketing. I'm just a marketing, addict. I just really enjoy it. So I've really wanted to make sure that we were getting our message and our brand out there. And so it's been really rewarding to see other people sharing our product and sharing our food. And so that's been exciting, and I've been glad to see that Lubbock's really embracing who we are.
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously looking forward, it's kind of hard to predict what is going to happen in the next few weeks or months or even, I guess, hours. But what do you guys see for Burklee Hill?
Well, we hope to continue to increase capacity. We're at 50% right now because we do qualify as a restaurant. And that's been fun. Lucky for us, we built this building, or I say we built this building, let me back up. We renovated this building and built the inner walls so that we had a back room that was an event room. And we have as much capacity in the back room as we do in the front room. So we've just kind of spread all our tables out, and that's been really nice. We have these really high ceilings, so it doesn't feel cramped in there. And so we hope to continue to safely serve more people, share our wine and our food with more people. And we're hoping to start having some small events, maybe in the back room, some small classes while still observing all the precautions and the social distancing. And so we're hoping that, as we all are hoping, that we can just continue to do more of what was considered normal just a few months ago.
Yeah, definitely. It's nice that, even if you aren't able to, or you're choosing not to go and partake in wine at the winery, you can always bring a bottle home. So.
Absolutely. And we have kind of a spot marked off for curbside pickup. We want those customers to still feel welcome to come pick up their dinner. They can pick up a bottle of wine and charcuterie and some pizzas or whatever they're in the mood for. And so that's still a big part of what we're doing as well.
Well, thank you so much. It's always fun to talk about Texas High Plains wine, especially with you.
Well, thank you. I love talking about it. It's one of my favorite things in the world. So
yeah, I know. Now I really want a glass of Burnett. That sounds really good right now.
So funny story I have to tell you. I call it Burnett. I have been told by family members that the correct pronunciation is Burnett.
Burnett. Okay. I'll revise that. And I'll make sure to tell my husband
I still call it Burnett, but he was a great man, and he was known as Burnett Roberts.
All right. I'll have to go get a bottle soon.
There you go.
Thanks, Elizabeth.
Thank you so much, Catherine. Thanks for having me.
Hub City Spokes is produced by the Lubbock Economic Development Alliance in partnership with Hamel Bros Studios. Special thanks to the DoubleTree by Hilton for hosting us here in downtown Lubbock. For more episodes and to subscribe, go to lubbockeda.org/podcast.